Look at your hand, right now. Look at your thumb. It knows the movement before you even think it. A quick, upward flick. Again and again. You think you're in control. You think you're just checking the world. You tell yourself it's relaxation or boredom or staying informed. That is actually not what is happening. In reality, you are a lab rat in a cage that spans the entire globe. You are performing a compulsive loop designed by a man who now regrets he ever wrote the code. You aren't consuming content. You are being force-fed by a machine that removed the bottom of the bowl. They call it user engagement. The man who built it calls it behavioral cocaine. And while you burn your dopamine receptors to ash, Aza Raskin and the industries he inspired are profiting from your exhaustion. Welcome to Digital Ruins, excavating the hidden history of technology to clarify your world today. To understand why your attention span has been shattered into 6-second fragments, we have to go back to a time when the internet still had edges. The year is 2006. It is a different world. The iPhone doesn't exist yet. Facebook is still a closed network for college students. The internet is a library, not a casino. If you want to read an article, you click a link. You read to the bottom. You stop. Crucially, you have to make a choice. To see more, you must click Next Page. That tiny fraction of a second click was a psychological barrier. It was a stopping cue, a moment where your brain could ask, "Have I had enough?" But in a small startup office in San Francisco, an interface designer named Aza Raskin, the son of the legendary Jeff Raskin, who started the Macintosh project at Apple, was about to kill that question forever. Raskin wasn't trying to destroy your mind. He was trying to fix a clumsy interface. He was working at his consultancy, Humanized. He looked at the structure of the web and saw friction. Why should a user have to click Next? Why interrupt the flow of reading? It felt archaic, like having to get up and wind a clock. So he wrote a script, a seemingly harmless piece of JavaScript code. The concept was elegant. As the user approaches the bottom of the page, the browser effectively calls ahead to the server, grabs the next chunk of content, and stitches it seamlessly onto the bottom of the current page. No clicks, no waiting, no next page. Just a smooth, continuous stream. Raskin called it infinite scroll. At the time, it was hailed as a breakthrough in user experience design. It was frictionless. It was modern. It was magical. But years later, the magic would turn black. In 2019, Aza Raskin sat down for an interview with the BBC and dropped the mask. He admitted that he hadn't just built a better page turner. He had inadvertently cracked the code for human addiction. He publicly apologized. He said, "It's as if they're taking behavioral cocaine and just sprinkling it all over your interface." But by then, the genie was out of the bottle. The code wasn't just in a few blogs anymore. It was the backbone of Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and eventually TikTok. Aza Raskin didn't realize that by removing the click, he had removed the only thing protecting your brain from itself, the pause. So how does this scam actually work? Why can't you stop? It's not because you are weak. It's because you are fighting a biological war with a weaponized algorithm. To understand the mechanism, we need to look at a study conducted by Dr. Brian Wansink at Cornell University in 2005, 1 year before Aza Raskin's invention. Wansink ran an experiment called the bottomless soup bowl. He sat participants down to eat tomato soup. Half the group had normal bowls. The other half had rigged bowls connected to a hidden tube under the table that slowly refilled the soup as they ate. The result? The people with the bottomless bowls ate 73% more soup than the others. But here is the horror. They didn't feel more full. They didn't realize they had eaten more. Why? Because human beings rely on visual cues to know when to stop. An empty plate, an empty glass, the end of a chapter. These are stopping cues. When Raskin created the infinite scroll, he gave you the bottomless soup bowl. But instead of calories, you are consuming data. And instead of your stomach, the target is your dopamine system. The mechanism exploits a psychological vulnerability discovered by B.F. Skinner in the 1950s, variable ratio reinforcement. If you press a lever and get a pellet of food every time, you eventually get bored. But if you press the lever and sometimes get a pellet, and sometimes get nothing, and sometimes get a jackpot, you will press the lever until you die of exhaustion. The infinite scroll transforms your phone into a Skinner box. You flick your thumb. Most of the time, you get a boring post. Sometimes you get a funny meme. Rarely, you get a viral video that makes you laugh out loud. Because you don't know what is coming next, you cannot stop flicking. The motion itself becomes the reward. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. And this rhyme is written in neon lights. The infinite scroll is not a new invention. It is simply the digital application of the Las Vegas casino floor. Walk into a casino in Vegas. What do you notice? There are no clocks. There are no windows. The carpets are patterned to hypnotize you. The sounds are designed to mask the silence of losing. The goal of a casino is to induce a trance state, where time dissolves. They call it the zone. In the zone, you don't think about your job, your debt, or your family. You only think about the next spin. The tech giants took the architecture of the casino and put it in your pocket. But there is a darker parallel here: the tobacco industry. In the mid-20th century, tobacco companies didn't just sell leaves, they engineered them. They added ammonia to freebase the nicotine, making it hit the brain faster. They designed the filter to make the smoke smoother, allowing deeper inhalation. Social media companies are doing the exact same thing. They engineer pull to refresh, an interaction invented by Lauren Britcher for Tweety, which mimics the physical action of pulling a slot machine lever. They use bright red notification badges, triggering a primal alert signal in your brain. They are not selling you a service. They are extracting a resource. The resource is your attention. And just like the oil barons of the 19th century drilled the earth, the data barons of the 21st century are drilling your neural pathways. What is the cost of this extraction? It is easy to laugh it off. Oh, I spend too much time on TikTok. But the damage is physical. The average person now scrolls the height of the Statue of Liberty every single day. Over a year, you are scrolling the distance of a marathon. But the physical toll is nothing compared to the cognitive erosion. By removing stopping cues, the infinite scroll induces a state of continuous partial attention. You are never fully present, but you are never fully asleep. You are suspended in a gray zone of low-grade anxiety. We see the results in the skyrocketing rates of teen depression and the phenomenon of doom scrolling, compulsively consuming bad news because the algorithm knows that fear keeps you on the page longer than joy. You are losing your ability to tolerate boredom, and boredom is where creativity comes from. Boredom is where self-reflection happens. By filling every microsecond of your day with scrolling, you are hollowing out your own interior life. You are becoming a spectator in your own existence. Do not make the mistake of thinking this is an accident. Aza Raskin may regret his invention, but the companies that use it do not. In 2017, Sean Parker, the founding president of Facebook, stood on a stage in Philadelphia and admitted the truth. He said, "The thought process was all about how do we consume as much of your time and conscious attention as possible. It's a social validation feedback loop, exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology." He finished with a chilling line: "God only knows what it's doing to our children's brains." They knew. They knew the scroll would bypass your self-control. They knew it would disrupt your sleep. They knew it would polarize society. But in the economy of attention, a cured patient is a lost customer. If you put your phone down, their stock price goes down. The system is rigged to keep you scrolling until your eyes bleed because your attention is the raw material that fuels their trillion-dollar valuations. Aza Raskin provided the tool, but the system provided the intent. So, how do you escape a prison without walls? You have to rebuild the walls yourself. You have to reintroduce friction. Turn your screen to grayscale, break the dopamine loop. Install app blockers that force a pause before opening Instagram.
Buy a physical alarm clock and leave your phone in the kitchen at night. You must artificially create the stopping cues that Aza Raskin removed. The algorithm is stronger than your willpower, but it is not stronger than your environment. Change your environment and you break the loop. The scroll is infinite, but your time is not. The technology breaks, but the history remains. Subscribe to Digital Ruins to understand the pattern.